The Wild. People may recognize this movie as Disney's failed attempt to be Madagascar. Released about a year after the DreamWorks film, audiences and critics alike disregarded this movie because of the large amount of similarities it has by being a computer animated feature with talking animals in New York City. Ultimately, The Wild ended up falling into obscurity, while Madagascar grew into one of DreamWorks' biggest franchises. But is this a little gem hidden in the fame of another movie? Or is there an actual reason why Alex and the gang seem more appealing? Let's find out. The story. Okay, before I go any further, I have to say that any comparison to Madagascar is just unavoidable with this film. And I don't mean that just because they both have similar concepts, but the comparison will come in play when it comes to the execution. But back on to The Wild, surprisingly, it's a pretty dark film. There are a lot of times when it's just too gruesome, depressing, or just mean-spirited overall. It just feels uncomfortable watching this, the kind of feeling that it shouldn't be that way for the kind of film this is. Of course, since this is also a comedy, the movie does try to throw in some jokes here and there. A lot of it is pretty bad, some of it did make me laugh, and then there are some that are just so spontaneous and they literally come out of nowhere. They always leave me confused, wondering what the fridge just happened. You could just be looking at one scene where Samson tries to save his son and then suddenly, random German dung beetles. Now for one moment, take a look at Madagascar. What works in there is that the overall feeling is a silly cartoon. They're self-aware that they're making a talking animals out of their natural habitat flick, so they decided to have some fun with it the whole way through, making the whole movie a non-stop slapstick comedy. Here, however, the overall tone is mixed up. There are times when it wants to be a comedy, but then it would take itself way too seriously. As for the plot itself, it's pretty unoriginal and predictable. Imagine the plot of Finding Nemo with the concept of Madagascar with a bit of elements from The Lion King. That's The Wild in a nutshell. But even if it's uncreative and I can read it like an open book, the story just left me confused with what it wants to be. The animation. Technically, I can't say that the animation here is bad. In fact, it looks pretty good. What I believe this movie is trying to do is a more realistic look, and they achieved that pretty well. Although that I've seen better looking New York cities, and in here, it just feels like a big city but with advertisings everywhere. The places like the jungle really look sensational, and it does feel both large and full of life. As for the characters themselves, their designs do look like their actual animal counterparts, and they even feel like real animals with the fur all around them. Even the lighting and some of the effects work well to its advantage. As for the character animation, depending on the character, there are some that move exactly like the animals they're supposed to be, and then there are some that are a bit more animated than others, if you get what I mean. However, just because they did it well, doesn't really mean that they did it right for the movie. Considering that it doesn't know what it wants to be, it also means that it's uncertain that this would be the right style for the film. Again, take a look at Madagascar. To complement the upbeat talking animals comedy, DreamWorks made the characters look more clunky and cartoony. Even the animation itself feels more at home in a cartoon. It works because that's how the movie is. Here though, it's not clear that if a more realistic tone fits well for a movie like this. There are some scenes that look a bit off, and it often gives out a feeling that something's not right with this. I'm not criticizing the animation at all. In fact, the animators did a great job. But my only issue is just if this is the right style it's going for. The characters. If there is something that's worth remembering about the movie, the characters would be the last thing on the list. They're mostly one-dimensional with similar roles to other films or just one-off jokes with little purpose or appearance to the movie. First, there's Samson, the worrying father who goes out to save his son and to overcome his fears brought up from some events from his past. As for his son, Ryan, he's just the typical teenage kid who wants to be like his dad, but knows he can't, but ends up in trouble. Yeah, I don't really give a crap. Outside of the lions, there's Benny, Samson's best friend, who's head over heels over a giraffe named Bridget, who wants to prove that she can be independent despite being a girl. Larry is a more dumb but good-hearted snake, but that's all there is to him. And then there's Nigel, probably the most interesting character in the movie. He's a more unpredictable koala that can suddenly go crazy when least expected, and is always fed up being compared to this koala doll that always goes, "I'm so cuddly, I like you." That's right. And then there are the wildebeest, who appear later in the movie to be the antagonists who are tired of being in the bottom of the food chain, so they decided to be carnivores. Wait. I'm sorry. What? How is that? You know what? Screw it. Let's just move on. I'd rather not talk about this, I think it'll be best if we just continue this review. I'm sorry about that. For the rest of the characters, they're pretty much pointless. They appear for like a minute, then that's it. Never seen again. There are some that just give the movie something to progress, but then some serve absolutely nothing to the plot, like the random German dung beetles. The characters are not the most hateable, some are funny to watch, but they're really nothing special to be worth remembering. There's no other way to describe the wild other than it's Madagascar done wrong. Although sometimes the humor can be good and the animation is nice in itself, they're not forgivable excuses for its uncreative writing and the fact that it doesn't know what it wants to be, either a family comedy or a dark adventure. I'm not sure if I can really recommend this to anyone. The only thing I could say is just stick with Madagascar. It knows what it's doing, it's much more upbeat, the characters are lovable, and the humor is consistent and great. I'm not saying that The Wild is a terrible choice, it's just that there are better options out there. Hey guys, this is AniMat. Now, I will admit that I am a pretty big fan of the Madagascar movies, so I'm not gonna lie and say that it might have had a bit of an influence on this review. Like I said, making comparisons with The Wild and Madagascar, it's just unavoidable when either of these movies come up in conversations. But anyways, it's time to move on to the next review, In the Animation Hat. And by the way, if you have an animated film you would like me to suggest and put into the animation hat, then write me an email at animatsreviews@gmail.com. So now it's time to pick. These are not easy, I swear to God. Like, I'm gonna oh, never mind. I just got one. Alright. The next review shall be... I don't like looking. I just don't like to look. Okay. And it's unveiled. Yes, that's a pretty long piece of paper. What the fridge? What the fridge is this? Woo-hoo-hoo! Well. This is interesting. Well, pack up your bags, boys. Looks like next review, we're heading to Duckburg.